Police Minister Bheki Cele said that 36 people lost their lives from the recent unrest at Phoenix in KwaZulu-Natal, 30 of whom were shot. The provincial police are investigating 52 cases of attempted murder, 9 of common assault and 16 of assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. Talk to us more on this. We're joined now by the Police Ministry spokesperson, Lirandzu Themba. Lirandzu, good evening. Good to have you with us tonight on In Focus. 33 of the 36 who were murdered are Africans. Does this in any way add weight to the calls that many have been saying that these were racially motivated killings?
Good evening to you, Thabo, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Look, there's no beating around the bush when it comes to this one. The facts are obviously pointing to the fact that the majority of the people that were killed were African. And the other facts are that the people that are appearing for the murder, majority of them are not African. But let's go back a bit just to give it more context. And the context is that what we saw unfolding in Phoenix definitely did have racial connotations. And this was translated or was made clear by the fact that it started off when in these roadblocks that were manned by civilians in and around Phoenix, people were racially profiled. And we now know that many more atrocities took place in the streets of Phoenix during that time.
So the vigilantes were arbitrarily just killing people at roadblocks. I mean, talk to us about the conditions in which these people were murdered.
The police reports really indicate that out of the 36 people that were killed, 30 of them were shot dead. And 2 of them were burnt, 1 was stabbed, 1 was run over by a vehicle, and 2 were assaulted. Now, we know that police are also investigating 52 cases of attempted murder, Thabo, which basically speaks to the fact that what had transpired in those roadblocks or in the streets of Phoenix was really just horrible acts of criminality, of violence. And as we now know, some of the violence and the attacks took a racial turn. I mean, bricks, sticks, baseball bats, bush knives were used to really carry out these horrendous acts. And we also know that people were, trying to access services and in Phoenix, people from the likes of Bambai, from Zwelitsha, Inanda, and Umawoti. These are now surrounding areas where black people live. And they were just trying to, access Phoenix. And this is a fate that some of them befell on some of these people. So it is on this very bitter note that the minister, as well as the KZN premier, had to really, put facts to paper and also just make sure that people know what exactly transpired in Phoenix, because we know that a lot of misinformation has been peddled around what actually happened, what didn't happen. So these are the facts, and these are the facts that the minister has spoken about today.
Private individuals armed to the T is what we see, especially as far as information that is available on social media is concerned. Who was giving weapons to those members of community?
Well, that's going to fall part of investigation. We are working very closely with the private security industry regulatory body, which basically is the body that is keeping private securities in check. And through the work of this body and the SAPS, they've been able to seize 152 firearms from 4 security companies that are working around the Phoenix area. Now, these firearms are going to be taken in for ballistic testing, and then there would be, the determination of whether or not they've been used for the commission of some of the crimes that we're seeing there, because we know that there are those allegations that some people working within these companies have been or are involved, or allegedly involved. But we're also very concerned as a police ministry that 112 firearms were seized in just a period of about 2 to 3 weeks around Phoenix. And this happened during raids and police operations. So the investigations are going to have to point us to who is supplying these illegal firearms. But we know that there is a problem when it comes to the proliferation of firearms in South Africa. One of the reasons why we do have the firearms amnesty that has been running for the past 2 years now, where we give South Africans an opportunity to surrender their firearms, and those firearms are then destructed, or so that they're just off the streets of South Africa. But I do want to add this, Thabo, which is very important. You know, the 31-strong detective team that has been assembled from the province as well as national, that is currently in Phoenix. That team is also looking at not only the role of the private security company, but also the role of the SAPS, because you know that there has been numerous complaints from communities that are talking to how police have really had an inadequate sort of response to the violence. And this will be forming part of the investigations by the police. And we really hope to find some answers in this regard as well.
152 illegal firearms. What does that mean? I mean, what is an illegal firearm as far as what you're talking about and those guns that we seized? And where do those guns come from? Are they from here in South Africa? Where do those guns belong?
So it's 152 firearms that are from the private security industry, private security companies, the 4 private security companies that I've mentioned. And while they could be registered, they are being taken for testing to see if they were used in the commission of the crime. But the 112 firearms that were seized during police operations, I mean, these are illegal firearms in the fact that you don't have any sort of paperwork. You don't have any license for them. So by virtue of you not having a license, it means that you are having this gun illegally. So where do they come from? Well, that will have to form part of the investigation, Thabo. I'm not in a position to let you know where exactly civilians are getting illegal firearms from, but we know that there is, for example, police are being targeted for their firearms. We know that house robberies happen where civilians' firearms are being stolen from their homes. So there's many ways where people are accessing these illegal firearms. But our job, I think, as a police is to make sure that they are taken off the streets. And we're quite happy with the number of 112 being taken off just Phoenix streets. But, of course, it's alarming, Thabo, that, randomly in a period of about 3 weeks, there's been this many firearms that have been taken off streets of Phoenix, which, by the way, has less than 200,000 people living there.
31-member detective team that you mentioned earlier on, which, of course, has worked with speed to bring us to this particular point. What else are they probing?
So this investigating team has really hit the ground running. This is the very reason why we've now seen the arrest of 22 people, and we are very hopeful, and we've been told that more arrests will follow. The fact that a couple of people have just even appeared just as early as today. So we know that this team is working closely with the peace committee. And this peace committee is very important, Thabo, because this peace committee was formed, just when the situation in Phoenix, looked so bleak and so desperate, and everyone just was baying for blood, essentially. And this peace committee was formed to make sure that there's ease of communication from these different communities, not only just Phoenix, but of the surrounding areas that I've mentioned. And they've been working very closely with detectives. We are encouraged that people are coming forward with very useful information, and this information is assisting in really bringing people that are responsible to book. We know that the 22 people that have been arrested, they are being arrested and charged with murder, attempted murder, military damage to property, and of course defeating the ends of justice, because we know that some people don't want the truth to come out. And so this team really has its work cut out for it. But as I've mentioned, it is also investigating the role of the police, the role of the security companies, but most importantly, it's investigating how and why the 36 people were killed in the manner that they were killed in Phoenix.
The broad work then of the Peace Committee itself, how will that be operationalized and implemented?
I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that for me
I'm saying
again?
the broad role of the Peace Committee. What role actually will they be playing in this process?
The Peace Committee has been playing a very instrumental role. As I said, they were put together just even while Phoenix was burning, essentially. And they raised their hands and said, look, I will do it. And so it's 3 representatives from the 4 communities that I've mentioned. And they are meeting, I think, on a daily basis, where they've been very instrumental in terms of also just assisting families from these various communities to come into Phoenix and identify the remains of their loved ones. We know, Thabo, that there was a problem when it came to people, black people, accessing Phoenix during this time that we're talking about, because there were still those racial tensions. Yeah. And, in the main, people were very scared of accessing Phoenix. So this Peace Committee was very instrumental in assisting that process to happen so that the people could, the families that have lost their loved ones could bury their loved ones. And so they were very instrumental in that. But also, they are really the ears and eyes of the community. They are facilitating the ease of communication from the SAPS, from the investigative team to the families and to the communities. This team is very important, Thabo, because we know that the racial tensions still exist in Phoenix, and that is why there are those various cohesion or social cohesion interventions that the Premier of KZN has spoken about that are currently being undertaken. But this team, we really have the trust that it will assist government as a whole in ensuring that it really rebuilds these fragmented relationships that have obviously occurred in Phoenix, and this mistrust and distrust that is existing between black people and Indian people. And the Minister of Police, Thabo, was making it very clear today that what has happened in Phoenix is criminality at its worst kind, but we cannot get away with the fact that it also took a racial turn, and it is, of course, based on those words that these, interventions of social cohesion by the likes of the Peace Committee and other interventions from the province are very critical in ensuring that we never, ever, ever get back to where we come from.
Lirandzu, a quick one on that question of social cohesion. I don't know if the police and maybe the political head as well, the minister, is watching what's coming out of social media as far as a march dubbed a march to Phoenix against racist Indians. Are you watching that, and is there a plan in place of a possibility of tensions there as that march is taking place, and what will be the response from the police?
Absolutely, there is, and this is a question that was posed to the minister during his press conference today. I want to, assure South Africans and your listeners especially that while we did see the SANDF being deployed to KZN and Gauteng, those same boots on the ground remain in Phoenix, meaning that while there has been calm, there has been restored to the area and to the province, the police remain on high alert. So the boots still remain on the ground. We still have special units within the SAPS that are still deployed to Phoenix and surroundings. The likes of the TRT, which is a tactical response team, but also our public order police are also there, and they are also joined by the Metro Police locally. So there really is enforcement that is in place, and it's going to be in place indefinitely. And so I think the SAPS is satisfied that the situation has been contained. But right now, those boots stay on the ground, and they are ready for any eventualities. And of course, SAPS is quite aware of the threats that are being made, but also of the plans that are being made as well.
Right. Finally, Big Fish arrested, another instigator, the minister alluding to that. You're at liberty to tell us where that instigator is from?
I'm afraid I'm not, because the communication when it comes to that level is above my pay grade. It is centralized, however, as you know. We will have to hear from the ministry and the presidency who is going to give us more information around that. But the minister did confirm that, yes, indeed, 11 people have been arrested, and the most recent one had taken place today.